Dear friends, hello. Right now, during this June, a very important event is taking place. This event is significant for personal life, for the family, connected to the question of having children, and to the matter of putting your heart and soul into some important big family undertaking. All of this is connected to Jupiter, which is now moving into the sign of Cancer, and which, right here at the end of June, will reveal itself in a very beautiful and obvious way. There will be a new moon on June 25th, and that's when Jupiter will fully reveal its influence. And you'll be able to catch its wonderful vibes. In this video, I'll explain how Jupiter will affect us over the coming year. I'll also take a look at its movement through the sign of Cancer, basically within the upcoming year, so you can see on which dates and through which degrees Jupiter will be passing. Especially if you know your own chart, you'll be able to check whether Jupiter is passing over any of your planets in Cancer, and maybe even see if it triggers some specific personal events for you on certain dates. This video will also include an overview of all 12 zodiac signs. It will be brief. There's a detailed analysis of Jupiter's entry into the sign of Cancer that I did in the June videos. And below this video, I'll leave links to that detailed analysis by zodiac sign so you can check it out. I also have an additional private group where you can find a ton of extra material for yourself, including personal data analysis, early access to my videos, astrologer assistance in the chat, educational materials, and there's even a chat with artificial intelligence running there now. In short, there's a ton of material on numerology, love cards, and most importantly, astrology. There are a lot of valuable services there. And the main thing is you can easily see all the forecasts in the form of charts, so you immediately understand where and what you should pay attention to. You don't have to dig through hundreds of interpretations and explanations. You can just immediately see right up front what's important for this week, for this month, or even look at the charts all the way to the end of the year. You can analyze all of that. All right, I kind of went off on a tangent there, talking about my own stuff. Basically, that was an ad. Let's get back to this video itself, and to the point that in this video, I'm going to talk about the dates when Jupiter is involved, and then also go over the signs. And an important introduction I want to make is that for the past 3 years, we've had the planet Saturn in an emotional sign, which simulates our inner emotional world. The last 3 years, 23rd, 24th, and the beginning of the 25th year. Saturn is traditionally associated with the theme of trials, with being tested, with even a certain asceticism and difficulties. And while it was in the sign of Pisces for the past 3 years, our inner emotional world seemed to be constantly living in survival mode. Our emotions were a burden, a load that was hard to carry. It's also important to understand that the last 3 years were good for serious psychological work, but not so great for just relaxing and taking it easy. So in a way, it was tedious, drawn out, heavy, and depressing. That's how these 3 years of Saturn in Pisces could be described. But right now, a very important shift is happening. A month ago, Saturn left the sign of Pisces, and now in June, a planet is moving into the water element, which simulates our inner emotional world. Not a planet that brings trials, difficulties, or problems, but one that brings the main stroke of luck in the horoscope, where things are easy by default, where comfort comes naturally. And that's Jupiter, and it's moving into the water sign Cancer, which stimulates our inner world. And this is a very important key planetary shift to understand. Our emotions stop being a trial, like they have been for the past 3 years, and start becoming a source of spontaneous, natural joy, where there is warmth and support for the soul. And this doesn't require struggle or self-work. It's just warmth, just care. And this is the influence of Jupiter for the coming year. And it literally means that when we tap into our emotions, it happens easily and naturally. Openness, heartfelt warmth, and emotional support. When Jupiter arrived, and it came here on June 10th, you'll suddenly start to notice, quite naturally, that you'll help someone somewhere, support someone, empathize with someone, and it won't feel like exhausting work for you. But emotional involvement, empathy, and warmth stop being a burden, which over the past 3 years we used to take on ourselves, and then suffer because we were trying to help someone. Now, all of this happens as if it's easy and natural, coming from an inner abundance. Abundance is the main quality of Jupiter. And now our emotional life, the warmth and love in our hearts, as if shifting from a state of cold and hunger, like in Leningrad, to a state of abundance in the soul. And you just want to share your tenderness, warmth, and care. These are two completely different emotional worlds. What we had over the past year or two, and what is coming now with Jupiter. Of course, Jupiter is the most radiant and most inspiring planet. And here, in the tone of this video, you can hear from me that, well, Pasha, you've drawn these pink pretzels again. Pink unicorns are once more clouding your vision. But at some point, we all need those pink unicorns to lie down on the couch, watch a nice movie, and just relax. The point is, for the last 3 years, while Saturn was in a water sign, relaxing was, well, basically impossible. Let me put it another way. Water signs, that's Pisces, that's Cancer. They are, first and foremost, connected to the theme of relaxation in life. But when Saturn spent the last 3 years in the water sign of Pisces, well, in a way, we couldn't even relax emotionally. It's like there was always some kind of weight on your soul, just, I don't know. Like you just want to sing some chanson, there's this pain inside that doesn't go away, it just sits there somewhere deep within. Right now, Vladimir Skripkin and his song Central just popped into my head. And it's that feeling of background melancholy that's been ringing, sounding, and playing for the last 3 years. You just can't shake it off. Yes, there are global processes, and there's this general state that we're all in, no matter our nationality or country. I was just saying that the two main water signs, Pisces and Cancer, are connected to the question of whether we can let our souls relax. For the last 3 years, while Saturn was hanging out in Pisces, well, there was no way to relax. Now Saturn has just up and left. And in the sign of Cancer, which is directly connected to the theme of regaining strength, the planet Jupiter enters, and it says, relax completely and totally. And suddenly, moments start to appear in life. You just let go. Just like that. The weight on your soul, even though everything's the same, the world is still the same, like Soy sang, we all live under the sun, under the star called Sunday. And all of this keeps happening again and again. But the soul is freed, and in a way that heaviness is gone. And there's this feeling that I wake up in the morning as a fresh, light person. And this state right here at the end of June should at some point really settle into your psyche. As if all the heaviness of the world, all that sadness and longing that dragged on for 3 years, suddenly just evaporated. And Jupiter in Cancer means that, like children, you just open your eyes in the morning. Wow, just life, and no heaviness at all. Here, I need to add another note so you can picture the whole thing in your mind. Look, all the zodiac signs as they go up kind of symbolize different ages. Aries is young, small, bold. Taurus is a bit older, and so on. And the last signs, Capricorn, for example, is this gloomy, serious professional. Aquarius is like this crazy city dweller. Pisces is a wise old man, someone who's already half in the next world, talking to God or something. So the zodiac signs, in a way, they kind of grow older as they go. And here it's good to understand that Cancer represents the emotions of a child, while Pisces are the emotions of someone who's already lived their life. And with Saturn in Pisces for the last 3 years, we've been in this depressive melancholy, like a world that's outlived itself but just won't let go. Now, with Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, it's literally like seeing the world through the eyes of a child, and our emotions are like those of a little kid. None of that wild, deep Piscean sorrow. It's just as if we're looking at the world through the eyes of a child. At least, right now I'm talking specifically about the picture of our inner emotional experience and how it's literally shifting from the perspective of a wise, heavy-hearted old person, very melancholic, to the outlook of an enthusiastic child who is open and carries no heaviness behind them. And I just urge you to pay attention to all these nuances, to what you will start experiencing inside yourself now, at the end of June. How much will you actually feel this shift in tone in your worldview? It's as if at the end of June you wake up in the morning somewhere, especially if you have a summer house where there's nature, where you have this contact with something alive. And it's as if there's this pure, clear calmness inside you. And what I was saying about relaxation, it's like you're feeling it for the first time in many years. Because in recent years, starting with COVID, it's felt like you just can't catch your breath. Like every time you come up for air, you immediately start sinking again. And this feeling is like, let me rest. And here, at the end of June, maybe it's this magical state where you finally exhaled, everything is calm, and you can just sit by the shore, stare at the water, and there's nothing inside that aches. No, it's like a cat that isn't meowing. Just peaceful. And this state of quiet, meditative being, this state might be one of the most amazing things we haven't had in the past few years, so to speak. But again, I'm just suggesting you pay attention to it if it happens, because I've just told you all this now. We're still the same people who have lived through these last 3 years. You can't just erase that. But still, there's some ability to cleanse your soul, to become a child again in some way, to exhale and to relax. Suddenly, here at the end of June, this might be discovered. And Jupiter will be in the sign of Cancer for almost a whole year. And now, let me go over the degrees it will be moving through. You can look at the date indicated here, June 10th. This is the moment of entry, when Jupiter is at 0 degrees. And now I'll just scroll through and comment on the situations that will be connected with this Jupiter. First of all, here at the end of June, one of the key dates is actually June 25th, when Jupiter will conjunct the Sun. This will be the new moon on June 25th, and the conjunction will happen on the 24th. This is exactly the moment when it will make itself so clearly, understandably, and obviously felt, like, I am here, just relax. Jupiter is often also seen as a kind of higher power, like some angels. You just feel that they exist, and somehow life gets easier, like you don't have to carry everything on your own shoulders. At the very least, here it's clear that moments of spiritual insight are also quite likely. All right, let's move on. So, we have a pretty important period when Jupiter forms an aspect with the black moon. This happens in the middle of August, Jupiter represents our emotionality. The black moon symbolizes playing with emotions, emotional manipulation, and all sorts of intrigues. This is that very Brazilian soap opera I mentioned a couple of words about earlier. And it basically starts here somewhere around the middle of August. And then in September, it keeps developing more and more. This soap opera might be connected to some kind of dishonesty or intrigue or a scheme of doubts when it comes to intimacy, whether with a loved one, with children, or some sort of intrigue within a close family circle. And this intrigue actually starts to take shape right here at the beginning of August. The main aspect involving the black moon happens roughly around the 19th of August, and let me tell you now. And so the end of August is really the key moment when the black moon gets activated. Another feature here is that at the end of August, this Jupiter will be very prominent and sensitive because the future node is also being activated here, which means that some new emotional realities are taking shape, where people support each other, where families come together, and where there is a very strong layer of emotional excitement and sincerity. And Jupiter is very harmonious. It will even correct all the distortions of the black moon and harmonize them quite well. But the black moon will still add an element of intrigue. This black moon can manifest, for example, as if we are, so to speak, taking in a black child into our family. Well, for example, I am a white person. Or, for instance, the other way around, you are a white person who ends up in a family of Africans. I had a situation once when I was traveling around India for about a year, I think, and I often stayed in hostels, and sometimes, well, anyway, there was a time I stayed in a hostel where everyone was African American, and I was the only white person there. And this is also that feeling that the black moon symbolizes a kind of white crow among a group of emotionally close people. And this person, this character, the white crow, can be perceived as something different within a circle of close ones. But that's just one of the elements of the black moon. The second point is that intrigues may arise around some dubious person or around doubts about intimacy. This is the most complicated, well, maybe not the most complicated, but this is where the main Brazilian soap opera of our autumn begins. Because autumn, emotionally speaking, is just incredible, in the sense that there are so many twists, turns, and intrigues. Basically, the Brazilian soap operas have nothing on this literally for 3 months starting from the end of August, then September, October, and November. Everything imaginable will happen here, just like in that Brazilian soap opera. Because the black moon will constantly be weaving some kind of emotional, intriguing situation. But I would expect that Jupiter in the sign of Cancer has a very strong position, and it will harmonize and forgive many of the distortions of the black moon very well. But a pretty typical situation with the black moon in this position is when you're walking down the street, you see a kitten so cute, you take it home, bring it in, and then you come back from work to find something torn up, something messed on your bed, and so on. Basically, this whole black moon story seems to revolve around the character you're emotionally attached to. This is usually how the black moon tends to play out in such positions. And here, at the end of August, there will definitely be, well, some kind of your own little ugly duckling, so to speak, but one that could potentially turn into a beautiful swan. But still, there will be undertones of questionable games going on around all of this, because I really think there's every chance to become a swan here, especially with such a strong Jupiter and the node. Let me comment on another point here. A similar planetary alignment happened around 2013. Neptune was in Pisces, Jupiter was in Cancer, and I think Black Moon Lilith was also in Scorpio. And Saturn was in Scorpio as well. In short, there was also this combination of 3 or 4 water planets, including Black Moon Lilith. And 2013 might have stood out in your life if you remember it for some incredible emotional story, but one that had some kind of bottom, or, well, not a bottom, but a hidden layer, one that had some intrigue and an element of that Black Moon Lilith extravagance. So now we have almost the same planetary alignment, but it's much lighter because back in 2013, Saturn was in Scorpio and things were tough. Here, the situation is 3 times easier. But if you remember that little storyline from back then, the November eclipses of 2013 and the May eclipses of 2013, those could have been especially intense emotionally. But again, if you have water signs or emotional planets, and you know what I'm talking about right now, because maybe you're a completely rational mental person for whom all these Cancerian or Piscean emotions and sentiments just don't matter, you don't even notice them. But if you do have some water planets, again, pay attention to the degrees and the dates when they will be affecting your planets. So let's keep spinning our Jupiter forward, and we see that in September and October, then Jupiter stops and goes retrograde. And here, there's a very important storyline in November, December, when Jupiter comes back. This is already the whole of 2026. Again, you can see the degrees. Right now, I'll just run through it. I won't dive too deeply into 2026. Just keep in mind that it almost enters the sign of Leo at the end of June 2026. So basically, for exactly a year, it will be saving us, supporting us, and helping us. This will be one of the most benevolent and successful planets in the sky during this time. Those are the general thoughts. But again, I promise to briefly go through the zodiac signs. Below, you'll also find links to a detailed analysis of Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, which I already did in June. And basically, you can check by sign there. And of course, you can also join the sponsor subscription, where I have a lot of additional information on astrology and charts in my private channel. Now, let's go through the signs here. All right, found it. For Aries, Jupiter primarily plays a major key role for family, and family, love, and close ones are the main focus of how its influence will unfold. For Taurus, Jupiter in Cancer also has a significant family influence. And you'll really feel it at the end of June, on June 24th. But for Taurus, I'd say they'll really step into Jupiter's energy and feel this theme strongly around mid-August. And for Taurus, this could also be about earning money in the helping industry, in the support sector, or in areas like cosmetology or services, anywhere you need to take care of people and make an income from that support. For Gemini, Jupiter in the sign of Cancer is first and foremost also about earning money in the support, help, and care industry. And basically, with Jupiter in Cancer, you'll get acquainted with this energy right away on June 10th. As soon as Jupiter moves in, you should, in theory, immediately start feeling these new energies. And at the end of June, during the new moon, you'll most likely clearly feel this sense of family harmony and support that comes from Jupiter. For the sign of Cancer, of course, Jupiter is moving through your sign, and you get the most out of the positive aspects of this Jupiter, as it creates many opportunities for family, for having a child, and for strengthening family bonds. For the sign of Leo, Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer. This is about the opportunity to rest, recharge, relax. There are more and more moments in life when you're not stressed or in some kind of depressive state, but when you just need to find a pure space. There's a concept in astrology called pure water. That is, there's a stagnant pond, a swamp, and then there's a clean place that really purifies your energy. And the last 3 years have generally felt like a pretty toxic, swampy place. But now there's a chance to find some kind of clear pond or pure emotional space, a place where your soul can truly rest. I'm speaking symbolically here, but this could mean people, circumstances, or even an actual physical place where your soul truly relaxes. For Virgos, Jupiter in Cancer can encourage harmony in your personal love life, although in the second half of the year you'll be working hard, pouring a ton of energy into your job and career. And Jupiter can be the place where you find rest, especially through relationships and with your loved one. For Libra, Jupiter in Cancer means more success in industries where you need to help others, in the helping professions, in support services, and again, in motherly or parental roles. This Jupiter will bring a lot of positive events. For Scorpios, it's important that with Jupiter, emotions become quite happy, light, and harmonious, and don't require professional effort as they did the past 3 years. There's also a theme of getting closer to family, roots, and the possibility of having a child. For Sagittarius, this transition is extremely important. It's probably the key factor that over the next year you might get married, tie the knot, or have a child. In other words, for Sagittarians, those eternal wanderers who are always off somewhere, lost in their own ideas, plans, and grand dreams, this influence can ground them and actually bring them into some kind of family reality, a family idol. As if the main happiness is suddenly not somewhere far away, beyond the mountains, but right here with your loved ones. And for Sagittarians, this is a radical transformation and an opportunity to discover the joys of family life. No matter how cringe that might sound these days, well, I guess I'm mostly talking to the younger generation here, because the older generation, well, they understand these values. And for young people, it might really feel like you don't always have to be running somewhere. There's a place where you're loved. And Sagittarians might suddenly discover this on a whole new level for themselves. For Capricorns, it's a very important family moment that will allow you to find a home where you can rest, and a loved one with whom you can truly relax. Relationships that become the coziest place and the space that saves you from work. There's a ton of drive at work. Everything is interesting and going well, but Jupiter in Cancer says that I found my harmony in the family. Maybe the family is the same, relationships are the same, but harmony started to fill my heart. For Aquarius, Jupiter in Cancer is more about harmonizing the overall family atmosphere, about the feeling that sometimes there are more moments to just relax, not rush anywhere. Probably the most important thing is the disappearance of the background depression that might have dragged on for the last 5 years. MHM, half the months. And what I mentioned at the beginning about the old man and the child, about how for the last 3 years we've been living with the emotions of an old man, a bit worn out, nostalgic, melancholic. And now we're entering a period when our emotions suddenly become like those of a child, open, pure, and transparent, and light, and try, finally, to catch this shift in paradigm. For Pisces, this is a very important moment that can push them toward family, having children, family-oriented plans, and the feeling that you are gaining a space of close, dear people, and in your life, more and more time is taken up by relaxation. Not even relaxation time. For the past 3 years, while Saturn was in your sign, emotions and close people have felt like work. It could have been a real test for you. And basically, there was this sense that life was dragging on. It was tough. That is, you had to keep working all the time. The right way to put it is working on yourself. Here, thanks to Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, it's as if I already know a lot and I don't need to invent much. Some kind of natural, creative force of love is unfolding within you.